Robinson here from Robinson'sAutoToolsandTime.com. Welcome back, guys. I'm back here with this GMC, one we just did the daytime running lights on, and we're going to find out what that noise was. So let's see if you guys are right. For those who guessed U-joint, you're 100% correct. Let me show you what I found. I don't know if you can see that. You can see the broken U-joint cup. So it looks like we'll be doing some U-joints. Okay, the first thing you're going to want to do is set the e-brake if you don't have the vehicle jacked up, because once I remove this drive shaft, park is no longer going to be any good to us and it'll just roll away on you. So you want to make sure you get the e-brake applied. Wouldn't hurt to throw some blocks under the wheels for a little extra safety. And then what I usually do before I remove anything, just so I put the drive shaft back in the same position, I'll just take and mark the shaft. Okay, and then there's 4 retaining bolts with the retaining clamps. I believe there's 7/16 on this one. So there's 2 here and 2 on the top. Okay guys, I just wanted to demonstrate something real quick. You have your emergency brake on, you take your vehicle out of park, put it in neutral. You come back here and you see how much play is in that universal? That's no good. It should be solid. So it's mainly this cup right over here. The vehicle's in neutral. That way it takes the load off of the yoke and the drive shaft. And then you could feel your play. Okay, now with the retaining brackets removed, we want to take and pop the U-joint out of the yoke. So you get behind there with a pry bar and you give it a quick yank. If it doesn't want to go, take your hammer and whack on this U-joint just to jar it loose a little bit, because sometimes they get rusted in there pretty good. Okay, there it goes. I ain't worried about the caps falling off of this one because it's junk anyhow. So let's get the top and the bottom popped out. Okay, that's the back side. Alright, before you slide the drive shaft out of the front, place a drain pan underneath where you see the yoke's going to slide out of the transmission, just in case. Okay, now for the front side, you can see that front yoke goes into the transmission. It just slides in, so there's nothing on bolt there. So for here, try not to get in your way. You just simply slide it out. Okay, let's take it to the bench. Take a look here. You can easily see the bad U-joint. I got the caps removed. You come over to this side. That's what a good U-joint is supposed to feel like. We'll be replacing them both anyhow. Now this U-joint, I'm not sure if you can see that good, or how well you can see it. Let me turn this light on for a minute. Anyways, you see those plastic tabs? This uses plastic injection retaining. There isn't no clips on the stock U-joint. They injected plastic to retain the caps in place. I'm going to take and soak it up with some penetrating oil. I should have did this in advance. However, I'm getting ahead of myself. I'm going to do both sides. Okay guys, for this demonstration I'm going to be using my hydraulic press. I usually use my arbor press. However, there's tons of ways to change U-joints. If I was on the side of the road or in the woods, I can replace this using a block of wood and a hammer. There's lots of methods. However, since I have this equipment, I'm going to utilize it. So using a press, you want to use extreme caution, because if you press this out the wrong way, you're going to bend the ears. Like if I were to take my press and press it out like this and push down on that top cup to press out the whole joint, what will most likely happen is I'll bend this ear. This ear will tweak. And then when you put the new joint in, you're going to have problems, and it's going to throw your shaft out of balance. So what you got to do is, like I mentioned, you need a pressing cup or a socket or something that your cup will fit in nice. And then you want to get it centered. So when you press this out, it goes down inside the cup goes down inside your pressing cup or your socket or whatever you're using. Okay? Once you got that set up the way you like it, take and remove your cups. And once you got the bottom all set up, that's going to be a nice firm pressing surface for this bottom ear. That's when the cradle comes in. This is one I fabricated myself, just using a 1/2-inch flat stock. Real easy. But what you want to do is this will simply come up and press down on a U-joint. And what that'll do is press just that lower cup out. The top cup will remain in place. But however, I'm not putting any strain on that top ear. The lower ear is supported by the lower cup, so everything will press out nice and straight without bending the ear. You can do this in a vise as well. You can take that and adjust your vise so that the ears of that U-joint sit in there nice. Put a socket up there, whack it with a hammer. Like I mentioned, there's plenty of ways of doing this. So we're going to be using the cradle and the hydraulic press. Okay, make sure you're wearing your safety glasses. Try to get as center as possible. Let's give it a shot. There she goes. Hey guys, have you seen how violent that pop was when that plastic injection broke? That's why it's so hard to do that on an arbor press or even with a block of wood on these ones that are plastic injected. That's why I use the press. But you can see it broke the plastic mold. So now there's still a little bit of room to go further. As you can see, I could go until that U-joint pretty much touches the ear. That way the cup's out as far as I could get it. And at that point I could probably use a pair of vice grips. Alright, so let's take it a little bit further. There it goes. Now you can see it dropped out a lot smoother. And the cup is pretty much out. Then I'm going to take and roll the U-joint. Now we're going to press out the second cup in the same way. Now at this point you can take and you can press right down on the top because the cup's not in there and you're not going to hurt the ear. So I'm going to use the cradle and let's break that bottom one. Doesn't hurt to look things over twice, guys. I do break stuff. I'm not perfect. Blow hoses, you name it, but you want to be safe because this stuff could hurt you. Okay, I'm going to stand back and see what it does. Here we go. There it goes. That one popped all the way that time. Whew! It just smoked. That was the bad U-joint. That one went out with a bang, huh? That's why it's good to keep your body, your feet, and everything clear, man, because you never know what's going to happen. Like you see, that was the one that was bad. There wasn't even any bearings left in it. No bearings at all. At that point you can take and remove the U-joint. Okay. Okay, at this point you want to take yourself a piece of sandpaper or something, deburr it with a file or anything you see that may keep the new one from pressing in nice and smooth. You want to take and clean that out. If it takes the internal type snap ring retaining clip that goes inside a groove, you're going to want to take and clean that groove out with a pick or something in that manner. And on this one I got a flap wheel type sanding wheel. You don't want to take too much off, however. This one has a plastic mold that went all the way around. So I'm just making sure all that plastic is off. This flap wheel isn't real abrasive, so it's pretty much just taking off the surface rust and that plastic. Okay, now in this step, I got everything cleaned up with the flap wheel. You can use a piece of sandpaper like I mentioned before. Just get it nice and clean because you don't want to bind them when you press this side in. Taking them out, they're all rusted in and they're hard to press, and that's when the ears will get bent. Pushing it in don't tend to usually bend the ears. So as long as you got it clean, it'll press in nice and smooth. Then you put your retaining clips in. The new U-joints I'm using are going to be using internal clips. So I'm going to press it. When I press it in, you'll see me go a little bit beyond. Then I'll install the clip, and then we'll take it from there. At this point, you're going to take and remove all the caps. And be careful not to drop any of the needle bearings. As you can see, these ones come extremely well greased. But sometimes you got to put a little extra grease in there to keep them bearings from falling. So take and put them somewhere clean. Okay, once you got everything cleaned up and all your caps removed, be careful not to get any dirt on the U-joint. Try and do this without getting in your own way, guys. Now take and install one of your caps, holding it through like so. Now this can be easily done on a vise using a couple sockets. Make sure I got everything centered. I'm going to go a little bit beyond that clip. Okay. I'm going to take and roll this over so the joint don't fall out. Okay, the next step is to install the retaining clip. As you've seen previously, I went a little bit beyond the groove. That way it makes it easier not only to install the retaining clip, but to start the next cap, like I'll demonstrate shortly. I probably should have went a little bit further. That way I could get the top cap on and make sure the needles are centered. However, I got it just enough where I think it'll work out good. So, you want to take and put the clip on a groove. You give it a couple brisk taps with a hammer. As you see now, it's firmly seated. Okay, now it's time to press the top cap on. Make sure you got it nice and centered. Get it started. And we'll press this one in. Okay, right now it's pushing against the other cap. So what I'm going to do is just push it down until it firmly seats this snap ring tight against, and that'll give me just enough room to get the upper retaining clip on. I'm going to use something a little bigger. I'm actually going to use one of the old caps to do that. See, I still can fit out more. Okay, looks like I got enough room. And I'm going to roll it over. Now reinstall the lower retaining clip in the same manner. Okay. As you can see, that's a fairly easy way of doing U-joints if you have a press. And they come out perfect this way. Using other methods, if you've done U-joints before, you probably noticed they bind, they're hard to get free. They'll free up, but the problem is that other methods tend to tweak the ears a little bit. So that's why I like using the cradle. It's easy to fabricate. So this side's done, and it's great. I'm really happy with that. I got to do the other side. So what I'm going to do to protect this, you could just leave the caps off and just flip it around. However, in case this thing were to drop, I'm just going to reinstall the caps. I'm going to take and run some tape around it like so. Now the reason I do that is just in case the event happens that the drive shaft were to fall, which you don't want that. You don't want to do that, believe me, I'm talking from experience, because you could damage the drive shaft. If you bend it, it'll be out of balance. But however, if it does fall and you catch it and it taps the inner piece, it could mess it up and then you'll have premature failure. So I just take extra precaution steps, just in case, because you never know. Plus it keeps the dirt out of the cups. Okay, even though this side ain't really bad, it feels really good actually. I'm just gonna demonstrate this side as well. This side is pretty much the same thing, except for we have another yoke involved.